Welcome to our bid expansion public meeting. And as you probably know, we are working on two separate expansions, two sub-districts, which I'll talk about. And so today's focus is going to be the east expansion, which is in the what we call the IBZ, the Industrial Business Zone. So first, what is a bid? So for those who are unfamiliar, a bid is an area where, within a defined set of boundaries, where property owners pay an additional assessment on their property tax bill. Although instead of going direct into the city, the assessment goes into the local organization. And the local organization is run by a board of directors, which is made up of property owners, tenants, as well as government officials. So it's a public-private partnership. The LIC bid, you can see here the map. The current bid is divided into two sub-districts, the north and the south. So the darker blue color here is the north sub-district, which was created in 2005. And then the bid was expanded in 2017 to the south sub-district, which is the light green color. And the north and the south sub-district, they have different assessment formulas and slightly different service budgets, but they, for all intents and purposes, they're both the Long Island City bid, and they're managed by the Long Island City Partnership. And the current bid has a total budget of $1 million. So how are bids formed or expanded? In order to expand the bid, it does require a public process, which is part of the reason why we're here today. But before that, we have a planning phase, which is when a steering committee that's made up of local stakeholders comes up with the plan for the bid, which the key elements are the boundaries, the budget, the services, and the assessment formula. And then once the plan is finalized, we go into the outreach phase, which we've just initially kicked off recently, where we have public meetings, such as the one today, and we get feedback from stakeholders, and we also ask to sign the statement of support. So if you're a property owner or a tenant in the district, we'll ask that you sign the statement of support, where you can actually vote whether or not you support the bid. And then once we demonstrate enough support, and this process, I should say, is managed by SBS, the Department of Small Business Services, on the city side, who has oversight, and they also help us guide us through the process. And Michael is here today from SBS. And once we demonstrate enough support, then we go into the legislative phase, which if you're familiar with the Euler process, it mirrors that process. And the legislative phase will take 9 to 12 months. So as you can see, this is a very lengthy process, and we began this about a year and a half ago, officially. But even before that, we were doing some feasibility studies. So our steering committee, and many of you are here today. This is what our steering committee is for the East expansion. And the steering committee really came out of a working group of a number of stakeholders that have been involved with the partnership for years. And we had been hearing from people within that working group that there was a need to expand the bid into the east, east of the yards. So thank you to our co-chairs that are here today. Jason from Atlas and Mark from TEI is here, as well as Stephen from Innova. Oh, did I miss someone? Oh, and Gretchen. Sorry, Gretchen. Gretchen is in the east and the west, and so and is also currently involved in our current bid. So how did we come up with the services that are important for this area? Part of it is just feedback from the working group and the steering committee, but we also did send out a needs assessment survey at the beginning of this process, asking people what they see are the most needs in the neighborhood. And so public safety actually ranked as #1, as well as horticulture and beautification, traffic management, advocacy with city agencies, and increased sanitation services. So here are the proposed boundaries for the expansion area. And this map has changed over time as we met with stakeholders to find out what the needs are and where we should focus our services. That's how we determine this map. So the boundaries, they have to be contiguous, but they also have to, make sense, because it needs to be in an area where you see the most need, and where the services would be welcome, of course. Speaking of the services, This is a list of the services that we're proposing for the east expansion. This is mostly the same as the services that we provide in the current bid, although the level of service might be different in the east expansion area because it is an industrial area, and so the makeup of the neighborhood is different. We don't have residents in this proposed expansion area, and there's less, although there is more foot traffic that's been coming into the district, there is less foot traffic than over that you'll see in Court Square, for example. And then here's just some photos of the existing conditions in the expansion area that Henry has taken. You probably have seen him. I forgot to introduce the rest of the staff, but Henry and Charles, we have here on, they work on the IBC area, and then we have Dana and Angel is outside, and they do work on operations for the existing bid. And we have Osage in the back, who you may also know, who works on our business assistance team. But these are recent photos that our team has taken throughout the expansion area. And just as a contrast, this is some of the work that the current bid does in the existing bid district that we're hoping to bring to the expansion area. We also just wanted to show, in the current bid, we're always looking for feedback from our stakeholders, not only from our board of directors, but from our members throughout the district. And so Dana, for example, is out there every day talking to business owners, talking to property owners and residents about what some of the needs are. And we put out a survey of our current bid members, and our most recent survey was in summer of 2022, where we found that people were very satisfied with the level of service, and they also, most people know who we are because we are out there so often talking to stakeholders. And also we found that there was, the long-term area confidence was very high. So how much is this gonna cost? So we put together a budget which we're pretty confident can support the services that I just outlined, and because we have the existing bid, it's easy for us to determine how much these services will cost. And there is an economies of scale because we're already providing these services in the North and South Subdistrict. So we have determined that the total budget will be $650,000 just for the East expansion area. And we want to make sure that we have enough money in the budget to support us for several years, because whenever you want to increase that assessment budget, you have to go back through a legislative process. So how does that work as far as what the property owners will be assessed? So as people on the steering committee know, it was a long, we looked at a lot of different assessment formulas, and it was a long process to come to a consensus, but because of the makeup of the district, the distribution of buildings, there's several buildings that are very large, and then there are, most of the buildings within the district are on the smaller side. So we're proposing an assessment formula that's based on square footage, but there is a discount as the building gets larger. So, for example, if your building is over 100,000 square feet, you would pay about 11 cents per square foot on the first $40,000, then about 7 cents per square foot from 40,000 to 99,999, and then above 100,000 square feet, it's about 3 cents per square foot. And the way that we come up with this is that you can imagine if the budget is constant, then you divide the total square feet in the district, and then that's how you come up with the rate. So the median assessment is about $3,000, and 75% of the property's annual assessments are below about $6,500. So, and that's because, as you can imagine, there are some of those much larger buildings within the district. So as far as next steps, as I mentioned, we need to get the stakeholders to sign the statement of support in order for this effort to move forward. And we have to demonstrate support from over half of the property owners. And we can do that by showing 51% of the total assessed value in the expansion area as far as the property owners in support, or support from 51% of the tax lots. And these are thresholds that are set by the city. We have to show either one of those. Of course, we would like to show both, and we think we can get there. We also have to show broad-based support from the commercial tenants, and on the west expansion, the residential tenants as well, but that doesn't apply here. And the best way to really do that is for all of you to help us to get the word out about the expansion. We did send out a mailing to all of the stakeholders, and Henry's been going door to door and dropping off statements of support to some of the tenants because they're sometimes harder to reach. But we appreciate if everyone could help us also. If you have tenants or neighbors that you can let them know about this effort and provide them with a statement of support. We have the statement of support also online, and as well as a physical ballot. We also have to get support from the local elected officials in order for it to go into the legislative phase. And one of the things that is very important to our local council member here is that we have the ballots accessible in a number of languages, so we do have those available if you have tenants or if you know of other property owners that need the ballot in another language. We have that here as well as on our website. And I think that was the end of the presentation. Any questions or comments, concerns?
Just one suggestion is New York State prepared a demographic study on Queens, and it's a phenomenal resource to know who's living here, what the age groups are, level of education, and we've used it at the college here to know what target markets to go after.